Thanks for coming out. You guys have been great for our program, great to our program, and I certainly appreciate it. Good to see all of you again today. Yes, it is the end of September. I was talking to Jeremiah on the way in and just talking to Gary about it. It's only a couple days earlier than last year. They moved our practice up. It's approximately 2 weeks a year ago to 40 or so days before your first contest. So that moves our first practice up to this year, Saturday, October 3rd. So we are a little bit earlier than what we have normally been, but excited to be able to get started. And again, really appreciate you being here. This is hard to do obviously without you guys, but more importantly, what you do for us throughout the course of the year. That extremely important for our program to have you here. My staff is back. Most of them are back there. Jake Cook and Eric Crawford, P.J. Hogan, Johnny Moran is sitting there. Derek Netton is back there. Don Bishop is back there. Kyle Green is on the road recruiting today, so you will not see him around. But those guys continue to do a terrific job, as you well know. I would start by telling you how excited I am about this year's team. The one thing I told them when we got together this summer is the same thing I told our guys last year and the same thing I'll tell our team next year. Let's work really hard to have the best year that we possibly can. What happened a year ago or what's going to happen a year from now or what happened 5 years ago does not need to have any part in what we're trying to get done in our year coming up. And that message helped us a lot last year. I think for a while that group last year was really tied into trying to be a little bit like that team in 2010. And I'm glad we got onto the message of, hey guys, we're just going to be the best team that we can be with the guys that we've got in this room, and we're going to do the best job we can every day to get a little bit better. And obviously that paid off for us last year, and so that is my message with our guys right now. It's really the only thing we talked about in the summer. They've done a very good job of it. Our leadership with Paul and with Bo and with Wes has been very good. To think about where one or two of those guys were 3-4 years ago and where they're at today certainly puts a smile on my face to see how far they've come in terms of their leadership and taking care of business on a daily basis. I've enjoyed that part of it with those three guys. They're doing a terrific job. Our team chemistry is very, very good. And we haven't had an opportunity yet. We'll start practice on Saturday. But with our workouts in the summer and what we've done this fall, boy, our team chemistry is really good again. And when you've got an opportunity to start your season with great leadership and good team chemistry, it is a terrific place to start, as you know. I really like our roster. Obviously, some turnover with those 5 seniors last year, and miss those guys. I really missed them the first workout this summer. I kept looking around for Seth and Dion and Marv and Nate and Max, and you find out obviously that they've graduated and they're not there. I know Bohannon sat out there on the wing with the ball in his hands and kept looking for Seth so he could throw the ball inside to him, and realized that Seth is not going to be in that spot anymore. So some roster turnover, but also an exciting time for our program. Excited for some of the young guys that have waited their turn, and also excited for our guys that are back to be able to lead the way and see if we can't get ourselves into a position again this year to be in the championship hunt and play in that NCAA tournament. A couple of house cleaning items. Paul Jesperson and Taylor Olson each have got an injury. Taylor has been battling a foot injury for really a couple of years, and it seems to get better and then a little worse and get better. And right now it's pretty good. But depending on how that is, he may be in and out of practice a little bit. So we'll see how that goes here over the next few weeks. He'll start practice, and I'm just going to have to see what the daily, when we get into our 20 hours a week, what that is like for him with his foot. And then Paul's got a foot injury that's going to require anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. So he'll be resting here for the next 3 to 6 weeks, depending on how that goes. But we do expect him back by the end of October, back into practice. Clint Carlson and Arius Austin each had a separate legal issue from the spring. Both of those guys have done all that they need to. The legal process has run its course with both of them. They are through both of those, each of their own situations. And I'll tell you, I'm very proud of where those guys are at right now. They have done a very good job of taking care of their business, coming out of those situations and doing the things that they need to, both with our team and with the situation in terms of getting them taken care of. So both in good standing with our team and both doing very, very well. Clint Carlson will serve a 3-game suspension. That 3-game suspension will be the first 3 regular season games. So he will miss Colorado State, Stephen F. Austin, North Carolina, and then he will be fully back and ready to go. Our schedule this year, I think some of you have probably peeked at it. It's the best one that we've put together, the non-conference schedule. I know the guys are excited about it. Our staff is excited about it. Plenty of opportunity to play against some of the best teams in the country. We like that. We're looking forward to that. And as I've talked about in the past, and I know that it's something maybe that each of you have either asked me or heard me talk about, the reason that we put together that schedule is so that we've got both chances to get to the NCAA tournament. And with that being winning the conference tournament down in St. Louis is one of them, but also having an opportunity to get in that large bid. And so when we put that non-conference schedule together, it is with that in mind, so that our guys, our fans, our university, that we've got both chances in terms of getting to that NCAA tournament. And this year's schedule is, I don't know. We'll find out if easily is the correct term, but it is, as I look at it right now, it's the best non-conference schedule that we've put together, and very excited about that. I think I will leave it there and just open it up to your questions. So I'm talking about what you would like to. President Rude and Judy are here today, and I really appreciate it. It's our president's birthday today. I know he stepped out here, so when you do see President Rude, if he steps back in or you see him down on the floor, wish him a happy birthday. I appreciate you being here, Judy. Yep. With that, I would take your questions.
How do you balance the good part of the schedule with the attention to North Carolina, bringing in Colorado State, Stephen, versus getting buried, though, to the point where your guys, they're going to be ready to go in November?
Yeah, but I would tell you, Andrew, by that time we should be ready to go. We start practice Saturday. That gives us 6 weeks of practice, and we've spent the last month in individual workouts and in the weight room, and we get 8 hours a week in the summer, 2 hours of basketball and 6 hours of weights. If we're not ready to play a game by November 14th, then I know my boss is here, but he should look for a new basketball coach if we're not ready for a game on November 14th. So I don't have concerns about that. What I would tell you is what I mentioned. The only thing that I talked with our guys about when we started this summer, that work hard each day and let's see how much fun we can have with the team we've got. And this isn't about any other team that's been here. It's not about who's on our schedule, who's not on our schedule. Let's see how much fun we can have with this team that we've got. And we've got great leadership with our older guys, so I'm confident that we'll be ready to go on the 14th.
Jake, it's not just Seth that you lose in that front court. Marvin, Don,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big challenge, and you're asking a lot of young guys to step up. I wonder if you could sort of expand on that situation.
Yeah, and a very good point. Seth, with the way in which he played and being a second-team All-American, obviously is the one that was talked about and on ESPN and all the other places and in your papers and on your TV stations more than the other guys, but not any more important than the other 4 seniors. And specifically to the guys inside with Seth and Nate and Marvin, Nate was really unique. I tried explaining this to a friend of mine the other day. There were not very many guys like Nate Buss in the entire country. We played just about everybody in terms of level in different conferences, obviously. And we didn't come across guys like Nate Buss. So his uniqueness and his ability to come off the bench and get points like that is something that will be different for our team. And I've watched, and I've talked to our guys about this. I've watched about 15 of our games from last year over the course of the last month in trying to pick out some things to get ready for this year. And was reminded how relentless Marvin was in terms of going and getting rebounds. So those 3 guys are certainly going to be missed. The thing I would tell you, and the thing that I'm excited about, is we go from 3 seniors to 3 redshirt sophomores. We don't go from 3 seniors, guys that are 21, 22-year-old guys, to true freshmen that are 18 years old. Okay, Ted Friedman, Bennett Cook, and Clint Carlson have all redshirted. They've all had a second year where they played just a little bit, and now are going into their third year. So they've had the better part of 2.5 years to work on their game, to work in the weight room, to work on their conditioning. And they spent a lot of that time playing against Seth and Nate and Marvin, 3 guys that obviously were very, very good. So that part of it, I think, gives our older guys, Wes and Bo and Paul, as they looked around, to kind of get ready, Luke. They weren't staring at 4 or 5 18-year-olds. We've got 2 really good ones with Luke McDonald and Justin Dahl. Those 2 guys are going to be very good for us. But the 3 guys that I mentioned, the 3 guys that are redshirt sophomores, they're in a different place than they were two years ago. So I like that part of it, and I think that's gonna help us be more ready on November 14th than if we were turning those 2 spots over to true freshmen.
What about the leadership component? Obviously, you have a lot of talent returning, but the dog days of January when things get tough in the conference, road trips, those kind of things.
Yeah, I would tell you the things that Wes has done over the course of the last year and a half have been just terrific. He is a very different young man than when he got here, and most of that to do with what he has, the decisions that he's made. I know my staff has done a terrific job in working with him, and I'd like to think that our program has helped move him forward. And I'm talking more so in terms of leadership and in the classroom and off the floor than I am with basketball, I guess. But he is the one that has made the decision to do things at a little higher level, and because of that, he's put himself in a great position to be a leader, and he's done very, very well. And I'll tell you, he showed a tremendous amount of leadership last year in coming off the bench. For as good a player as Wes is, and having started the year before, to accept that role, that is great leadership, and so he's already done that for our team. And Bo is well known for his work ethic and how much time he spends in the gym. He's continued to do that. He's in the best shape of his life. And Paul has had the best, I'd say 4 or 5 months that he's had in terms of getting himself ready. And that's, his injury is an overuse injury. He didn't tweak his ankle. He's got to sit a couple of weeks because he's worked so hard the last 4 or 5 months. Those guys have done all the things they need to do, and they've got the right personalities and the right temperament, and they're looking forward to this. They want this, and that matters when it comes to leadership.
With all that, Coach, how much different is this team going to look in their style of play? Because you're switching from that tunnel focus to the guard focus.
Yeah, that was one of the things we worked through this summer. It's different because and from a lineup standpoint, we've had Paul in as our power forward, so really starting, four guards, if you will, or playing small. So our team is different when you've got a guy like Paul at the power forward position instead of Marvin. The things Marvin did and the things that Paul does are, close to the opposite ends of the spectrum, and so spacing is a little bit different. And then, we put in some of the same things that we ran for Seth. It's just, the difference is going to be Seth touched it 90+% of the time, and with our experience and our leadership being in our backcourt now, those guys will be the ones that'll make more of the plays, make more of the decisions than what Bennett and Ted and Clint are going to make. And I think it's important for all of us to understand that Seth and Marvin and Nate as seniors were much different than they were when they were sophomores. To think that 3 sophomores are going to be able to provide the same thing that 3 seniors provided last year, I think is the wrong way to look at it or approach it. Those 3 guys are going to need some time to play. But in saying that, that'll be the biggest change is when all those times the ball went through Seth, the ball will be in Wes's hands. It'll be in Bo's hands. It'll be in Paul's hands. It'll be in Jeremy's hands. It'll be in Wyatt's hands. And that isn't to take any of the importance off of the 3 young big guys because we're going to run stuff for them and we're going to throw them the basketball. But our older guys are in our backcourt.
How about the kind of the expansive role, or how much a bigger role are both Jeremy and Wes going to have to take on? You mentioned Wes started a couple of years ago, but more on them now, more expectations on them?
In some ways, more expectations on him because of the graduation of the 5 seniors. In other ways, they've been through this, and I've used this example a lot. Matt Bohannon 2 years ago as a sophomore averaged 12.5 points a game. And last year he averaged 5 or 5.5. And if you just looked at the numbers, some people would say, well, he must not have shot the ball well, or he must have been in a real slump. Or when the reality is, we all watched our team play, and he had a terrific year, right? So he's already shown as a sophomore that he can get double figures. And I think in different ways you can use that example with Wes and with Paul and with Jeremy. And Wyatt was just in his first year last year, but his role is going to expand, and he's going to play more minutes, and he's already shown he's very capable. So their roles will be bigger, but they're ready for it.
How will the 30-second shot clock affect your offensive and your defensive philosophy?
Yeah, we used it this summer, KL, and going from 35 to 30 isn't as big a difference as maybe I thought it would be. Certainly not the difference, and obviously the numbers would tell you that, but a few years back when we went to the World University Games and we played with the 24-second shot clock, that gets on top of you in a hurry. The 30-second clock, I don't know how much, we aren't, I don't think, going to have to adjust a whole lot because of the clock. We'll be adjusting more because of our personnel. I think you may see some teams do a little bit in terms of three-quarter court press and try to take some of that shot clock. But I also think at the end of the day, teams are who they are, and they're good for the reasons that they're good. So I don't know how many of them, I guess, will go down that road. But I know some guys have talked about possibly going to some of that.
Have you got a bigger arc? Is there any other rule change that you had to take into account?
The one that your timeout rule is different. Not allowed to call timeouts now is on the sideline. The players will have to be more aware of that, and that's where I like having some seniors and some guys that have been around. If you add up the rule changes, really what it's doing is tilting the game toward the players, and much more. The international game is much more that way. But the ones that have been put in for this year, put some more of the control onto the guys when it comes game time. And I really like that for the team that we have. If it's going to happen in a year, it's good for it to happen in a year that we've got experienced guards. We've got guys that are going to have the ball in their hands, and guys that understand how to play, and guys that can make some of those decisions. Of the ones that are going in, Kale, I think I like all of them.
Well, you've always made a living off taking the charge. You got a wider arc now. How's that affect what you're going to do defensively?
You've just got to get there earlier, right? You've got a little farther to go. So there's a little bit of an adjustment there. And we'll find out if we can still get to those spots on the floor. We're going to make every effort through our practices to continue to practice the same way, continue to prepare our guys the same way, because that is a big part of how we play. And we'll find out if we're able to use that to our advantage again and cover enough ground to get to those spots.
Pace of play was talked about a lot last year. You guys slowed it way down. You were efficient. Again, with the shift in personnel, is that going to change? Are you going to try and go a little faster, or is it going to stick to what you were last year?
Yeah, it'll be similar to the way we played last year, Jeremiah and I. In terms of how we play offensively, that's going to adjust a little bit based on our personnel. My deal with our guys is we're going to be efficient, and if efficient means we do that in 65 possessions, okay, great. If we do it in 75, great. If we do it you couldn't do it in 12 because of the shot clock. It doesn't matter to me the number of possessions. Our players understand that we need to be efficient, and that for us is the real key. Our personnel will dictate a little bit, what we do with our offense and how fast we play. But I will tell you this, and our guys know it. And it's one of the things I enjoyed when I'm back and watch the games here over the course of the last month is we're gonna push the ball as hard as we can, and we're gonna play. I don't like the word fast, but we're gonna work to get points in transition every opportunity on a missed shot, and that's not going to change for us. And our guys are really good in transition. Our guys know that is where our offense starts when we get a stop. So that won't change. If anything, with having more guards on the floor, I think there's going to be some more space on the floor for a guy like Wes, guy like Wyatt, guy like Arias Austin, our new junior college guard, for those guys to get around and make some plays. So in terms of seeing some changes in terms of our pace, Jeremiah, it's going to look similar. Again, the spacing is going to be a little bit different because we'll have more guards on the floor. And we're going to play fast in transition like we have on the missed shot. And if we don't get what we like, we're going to run our offense, and we're going to be efficient.
What did you learn from that 2011 year that you're going to try to incorporate in this year's team? Maybe I'm not trying to put pressure on themselves to be what last year's team was.
Yeah, I think that team, Kajoa Alegba was our point guard, and he's got enough personality that he doesn't want to be like anybody else. So that worked out well for us in 2011. And then had O'Rear not gotten hurt, we were going to win the championship again and go to the NCAA tournament. With I think it was 6 games to go in league play. We had just gotten tied and won 6 in a row or 8 in a row or something. But we're playing great. And so that, not getting where we would have liked to have gotten was more a result of Lucas getting hurt and not how we played. We had some young guys really step up, and we had some older guys that just made it their team. And that, that fits in and ties into my message to our guys last year and what I've told them this year. It can be one of the harder things to be able to put something that was so much fun behind you, to not think about it anymore. It can also be difficult with social media. People are going to want to talk about last year, and they're going to bring that up, and that's going to be part of the conversation until we do something better. At my age, I've been doing this long enough. I understand that's part of the deal. For these guys, it's the first time that they're coming off of a great year, and now they come back and they get an opportunity to have their own season, if you will. And so I think it's important for them that they hear from me and understand from me and from my staff that we're going to work hard every day to put the best team together we can this year and figure out how much fun we can have with this year's team.
Have you nailed down yet a starting 5 or any kind of an idea of what you want it to be?
Yeah, Wes, Bo, Jeremy, Paul, Wyatt, 4 of those 5 guys would be in line to start. And again, moving Paul basically from small forward to power forward, opens up a 4th starting spot. And then Bennett, Ted, and Clint, when he comes off his suspension, those 3 guys right now I don't know who would be the starter at the center position. All 3 of those guys are doing well. And then Arias Austin has really played well. He's a little better than I thought he was.
Speaking of him, you had mentioned Carlson's suspension. Is there going to be a suspension for Arias as well?
There will not. No. Arias having been here at the time, not enrolled and on campus, is the reason for that, Jeremiah.
Bennett Cook didn't play this summer, Coach, in the summer league. How was Bennett?
Doing good. Yeah, he had a lower back injury that kept him out for 6, 7, 8 weeks, and has really done well since. He was able to put on 15 to 18 pounds, Gary, and he looks good. Really turned the corner when he got back from that injury, and he was going in 2 times a day, 3 or 4 days a week into the weight room. So he got himself caught up. Instead of going home for the entire month of August, he just went home for a week, but then came back. Or let me flip that. He stayed for a week, went home for about a week, and then came back a week early in order to get caught up from what he missed in June. So he's made all the right decisions, and he's really doing well from a conditioning standpoint, from a strength standpoint, and so he's good.
Speaking
Coach,
of
you're 5.
conditioning, you played a lot of players last year, and that kind of helped you, get into March strong. How comfortable do you feel this year, and is that a fluid situation?
Yeah, I'd prefer for us to be able to play, at least 9 guys. I've liked that. As I've gone through, and I'll reference it again, as I've gone through our games, the ones I've watched here in the last month, that depth really paid off for us. We had, in the Wyoming game, they had a terrific team, but not a team with depth. And as their starters, we get through the first 4 or 5 minutes, or even 3 or 4 minutes in that game, and we send in the crew off the bench in that game last year. Their starters had to play all the way through that. And when we come back with our starters, their starters are still playing against our starters, right? And that's not the way all teams are. And again, they had a terrific team. They just happened to have a team that didn't have a lot of depth. And so it may be magnified in that game, Rick, but it's something I've always liked for our program. With the 5 returning guards, with Robbie Kennard and Taylor Olson as guys that are working their way to get into the rotation. Arias Austin is really doing a good job. And then the 3 young big guys we've talked about, that gives us, 9 and potentially a 10th right there with that group of guys that are not true freshmen. So I do like that in terms of the depth of our team. And then the 4 freshmen, odds while I'm on this, those 4 guys don't know yet that we'll redshirt all of them, but we'll have those conversations toward the end of October, with Spencer, with Lincoln. most likely going to redshirt because of where they're at from a position standpoint and the number of guards that we've got back. In Spencer's case, where Lincoln is at, we've talked with him about redshirting. And then Luke McDonald and Justin Dahl are two young guys up front. We're going to see how they practice. So we don't know yet if they will or will not redshirt. We're going to see how things go in practice here for a couple weeks.
Coach, you mentioned Arias has surprised you. Any of those 4 freshmen have been a pleasant surprise?
Yeah, those. Spencer has done well. He's shooting the ball better, and he's been a good shooter. But he's shooting the ball more consistently than what he did when I watched him in high school. That's been good to see. And then those, I tell you, Luke and Justin are both going to be. I just think they're going to be terrific for us. Justin's right at 7 foot. He's 280 pounds, and he understands how to play, and he can move a little bit. And then Luke McDonald's got if I could, quickest way to describe him would be a little bit of a combination of O'Rear and Tuttle maybe. Just in terms of he's got a great understanding. He's a really good passer. He's all of 6'9". He can make a three-point shot. Right now, he's just not very strong. He's got to work on his mobility. He's going to have to get stronger, and that'll come. But I think he's going to be because of his versatility and his size, Cale, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to excel at a high level for us.
Coach, just one exhibition game listed on the schedule this year, which different than in past years, they're a closed scrimmage type of situation that you'll play to fill that second slot.
Yeah, we're going to, and it'll be the first time, Josh, and I know you made mention of it. We're going to scrimmage Wisconsin. We had an opportunity to get into a close scrimmage with them and felt like that would be our best way to get our team ready, is to go with that close scrimmage and then one exhibition game.
You were able to keep your coaching staff intact. How important is that to you to have that same staff back and keep this team moving in the right direction?
Yeah, that's at the top of the list, Gary. When I sit down with Troy and with President Rude and talk about where we're at and what we need to do, that is one of the things that is involved in every discussion until we settle on something that we're able to do to keep those guys feeling very good about where they're at and what they're doing, because they've earned it. And that's the thing that I've appreciated about my staff is they haven't asked for anything, but they've just gone out and they've earned it and they've done their job, and they don't come knocking on my door when good things happen. But glad that we were able to, with the help of our president and with Troy, to reward those guys and move them forward, because we need those guys.
What's the status of the strength coach position? You guys had Andre on staff.
Yeah, he headed back to Italy. Would like to have had him for another year, or I'd like to have him for another 15 or 20, as long as they'll let me coach, to be honest. He was really, really good. His experience was terrific for our team and for our guys. But he back to Italy, and Stephen Vassiletti is the young guy that we've hired, and doing a very good job with our guys. Young and got a lot of enthusiasm. He's got very good knowledge. So excited to be able to add him to our staff. Yeah, the last thing I would mention, and I just got one other comment, I guess. And you can talk with Colin some more about it, or I would talk with Steve Schofield about it, who had to be off campus today, in terms of the ticket situation and where that's at. Those numbers are getting very close, 97% sold out or capacity. If there's anything beyond that, if anyone is interested in getting a season ticket or getting that North Carolina mini pack, they need to do it very soon. My guess is that those will be gone by the middle of October at the latest. But again, I would talk to Steve Schofield about that. And he's got some great numbers and some great information, and it'd be good to have out there. And then McLeod Madness, we put that out there within the last week or 10 days. That is Friday, October 16th at 7 p.m., open to everybody. We have made the decision that one student will get second semester tuition coming out of McLeod Madness. So, and then and Troy may have snuck out of here, but I want to thank Troy for continuing to help us and move our program forward. Again, it's as I said with my assistant, it's something that has to be earned, and our players understand that. That players' lounge and that locker room that we've got as of a year ago, thanks to Dale and Marilyn Howard, those types of things and the way in which we do things have to be earned. And when they have been earned, I very much appreciate Troy and the work that he's done with his staff and allowing us to continue to move forward. So I want to thank Troy for all his efforts. Thanks again for being here.